Well, some developing news. We've been following this story just about all morning long for the last hour, 2 hours or so, of a black bear on the run out in the East Valley.
We want to check in with Heidi Goitish. She's made it to the scene live in Queen Creek with the latest.
Yeah, good morning, Javier and Kaylee. This is a first for me, covering a bear on the loose story out in the East Valley. First, I want to clear up some rumors that I saw kind of circling on social media. The bear has not yet been tranquilized. We just got off the phone with a representative from the Arizona Game and Fish Department, and they said the bear has buried himself in some heavy brush. You can see behind those Game and Fish trucks right there how thick it is beyond the fence. This is the old GM proving grounds out here in the East Valley, and the bear has found his way into some bush, so they're just going to sit back and wait. They said they've actually called off their search right now. As you saw from the video that we saw earlier from the Penguin Air News chopper, the bear was running at a pretty high rate of speed. He was pretty spooked, and the more activity that was happening around the area, the more nervous the bear became, and they kind of just felt that no one was going to succeed in the effort to catch him. So they've called off their search. They're going to wait until the activity out here settles down a little bit, and then they're hoping that this bear comes out on his own. Of course, eventually he will, and I said, how long do you think that'll take? They said, you know what? It could take anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days. They said this bear was pretty spooked, and he is buried deep inside that forested area. As you saw throughout the morning, he was running rampantly throughout this open field. Dr. Gray Stafford, who I also talked with a little bit ago, and I know you guys talked to him earlier on the air as well, says he likely came down from the Superstition Mountains, possibly looking for food. He said this is a juvenile bear. He said he doesn't look to be any more than maybe 200 pounds. I know he looks a lot bigger. When we first saw him on the screen, we thought he was a lot bigger. So maybe he was searching for food. They say once they do tranquilize him, then they'll decide what to do from there. There's a chance that they'll bring him in and do a health assessment just to make sure there weren't any underlying health conditions that caused him to run from his natural habitat. But in the meantime, it's just a waiting game out here, waiting for this black bear, possibly a couple 100-pound black bear, to come out from where he's hiding, and then they hope to tranquilize him and take him in. If they do, then they will hopefully relocate him back to where he belongs.
Well, thank you, Heidi. We've appreciated these tweets all morning long. One woman said that they live about a mile from that area and that her husband and their dog had just gone out for a run. They're home now, but this has really helped to tell the story as well.
And they were right in that area.
Yeah.
So scary what might have happened had there been an encounter with a human being. We're just happy that he appears to be secure at this point.
Exactly.
They have him confined, so we'll continue to follow this. Of course, always check azfamily.com and your 3TV News app for all the updates.
I want to show you some live pictures. This is from the Penguin Air chopper near Signal Butte and Pecos, where a bear has been on the run this morning. Still no word where it came from. It's likely that maybe it's down out of the Superstition Mountains. But we want to check in with Gray Stafford from the Wildlife World Zoo as we continue to show you these live pictures. Bruce Hafner giving us an aerial shot here up there from the Penguin Air News chopper. Good morning, Gray.
Good morning to you.
I know that you've been following this story with us this morning. What's your assessment of what's going on here? We're going to take you back in time as you're talking because we have a picture of that bear out in the field.
Sure. Well, I think you're right. I think he's probably coming down from the Superstitions, probably got disoriented, looking for food, or being chased out by another bear, perhaps. You know, we've had a very, very warm fall, so I'm not surprised that his body might be a little confused, and he doesn't seem to be too underweight to me, but obviously I'm not there. I can't see him up close. But right now, I think what Game and Fish and other law enforcement are trying to do is make sure he's in an area where no one can get to him or be, you know, last thing we need are people involved in the mix. And then try to get him someplace where he can settle down, where they can get a clean shot in to tranquilize him and hopefully get him captured up and back in the wild where he belongs.
Well, we do know that it was about a half an hour ago when the bear was first spotted out near Ellsworth and Queen Creek. Mesa Police was called. We've seen MCSO deputies out there as well. And gosh, you sure hope he's going to be okay. You know, he's got to be scared.
Well, I'm sure he is, and he looks a little frothy to me, so he's been exerting himself for a while, and I'm sure he's probably disoriented because those alfalfa fields are not where he would normally be found.
Right.
And but the main thing is that, you know, it's very difficult to tranquilize an animal. Even under ideal control situations, say in a zoo, you know, there are things that can go wrong. Animals are aware of our presence, so they want to make sure that they get him someplace where he's somewhat contained, they can get a clean shot off, and then they have to wait, because once you shoot an animal with a dart, I don't care who you are, that's going to hurt.
Absolutely.
And so it takes a while for the tranquilizer, assuming it all gets on board, it takes a while for that to take effect. And being as agitated as he is, given all this activity, the tranquilizer may not work as predicted. It could take several minutes or longer before it's safe to approach the animal. So there are a lot of unknowns here. That's why it's good they're just taking their time. And ideally, he would find his way home on his own, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that at this point.
No, definitely not. And in fact, you can see in these pictures that we're sharing, Gray, of the MCSO deputies off in the distance. You make a good point here. Obviously, we want to make sure the officers are safe as well, our first responders who are out there. But again, just watching these pictures of this bear out in that open field, it's been about a half an hour ago when we saw the animal running along what appeared to be a drainage ditch as we've been watching this story unfold.
Yeah. And look at how fast he is.
He is
it's a good
really
reminder
fast
for everyone that if you see a bear, we obviously live in black bear country here in Arizona. So if you come across an animal like this while you're out hiking, you want to make your presence known, but you don't want to crowd them. You certainly don't want to chase them with your GoPro camera, because they can be on you much faster than you can get away. That's for darn sure.
Now, are you watching this as we are?
I am.
Okay, so, I mean, and this is obviously kind of a random question. We never rehearse these moments, but
Sure.
Do you know anything about this type of bear?
Well, we have black bear, and I know he's brown, but black bear come in all different color morphs. So he's a black bear. It's the smaller of the subspecies of bear we have in North America, but still very dangerous. So, you know, males can be 400 pounds, 600 pounds or more. And this time of year, I'm kind of surprised that he's up and about because, you know, normally they'd be kind of denned in for the winter, but we've had such a warm fall, he may be just emerging looking for some more body fat.
Great. Okay, are you watching this as we are? Because you can see, and I don't know if that's someone from Game and Fish or not, but
it probably is, yeah.
Does that appear to be a tranquilizer gun to you?
It probably is, just because, and now I don't know if he got a shot off yet or not, but they're trying to kind of steer him in a certain direction and hopefully get him to stop long enough for this gentleman to get his shot off.
Yeah, I mean, he had almost stopped for a moment.
Oh, he's reaching down, looks to me like he's reaching down maybe for his dart.
Okay.
So, because what happens is when you fire the weapon, the dart enters the animal's flank, and it pushes that plunger into their body, hopefully, if it's a clean shot, and then it falls right out. So I think he reached down to pick that up from what I could tell. Got
it. Okay, and I know that we have kids watching, lots of families watching as well, people out of school, obviously, for the holidays, and if in fact, yeah, I'm sure, well, I guess I don't want to assume, but it would only make sense that it would be a tranquilizer gun.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Unless there was, I think, human life at stake, that was a tranquilizer. Now notice, if they did get a shot off and it got into his flank, notice how fast he is after that anesthetic. This is why you have to kind of, you know, give this animal wide berth and make sure that people aren't around, because the tranquilizer takes a lot of time to take effect. It's not an instantaneous thing that you might see in a Hollywood film.
Right.
You know, a lot of times in the zoo world, if you have an animal that gets out, you know, people wonder, well, why don't you just tranquilize it? And the problem is, of course, that the tranquilizer is not foolproof, and it can cause additional time to lapse between when the animal actually goes down and goes to sleep.
Does it look like he's slowing down to you?
It does. You know, he's been having these bursts of speed. I'm sure he's exhausted after all this activity. I think when he gets a little bit of a buffer between he and the other vehicles, he rests a little bit. But I can't tell if he's showing any signs yet of any kind of stupor. But, yeah, he does seem to be slowing down a little bit. And they may just wait, because they don't know for sure if that tranquilizer is on board or not.
Right. And, you know, we've been trying to keep a fair distance from the animal as well, so as not to scare him too badly. I mean, as you can imagine, he's out there in that open field. Our cameras are zoomed in, but, again, keeping a safe distance from the animal, because we want to make sure he is okay as well in the long run. But, you know, the good news here is that it is out in an open field in the Queen Creek area and not running around in a neighborhood.
That's right. And there aren't any obstacles other than a field. And, you know, I got to say that the folks at the Arizona Game and Fish, they know what they're doing here. You know, I would be hard-pressed to go out there with a tranquilizer gun and dart this animal. But the folks at Game and Fish, this is what they do for a living. They know how to do it. They do it on a routine basis. And the good news is that sooner or later, this animal will be, corralled and taken back into the wild where he belongs, and where he'll be much happier.
Absolutely. Again, if you're just now tuning in, this is near Signal Butte and Pecos, and you can stay with me, Dr. Grace Stafford, if you will, from the Wildlife World Zoo, but you can see off in the distance we've seen MCSO deputies. We've also seen what appeared to be someone from Fish and Game, and gosh, a new appreciation for these folks this morning, right? Because we're actually seeing what they do for a living from time to time with wild animals.
You're absolutely right, and I would point out in that video just a few minutes ago how close that gentleman was just to get access to a shot, because the nice thing about being an open field is there's nothing around. The difficulty, of course, is you've got a wide open animal sprinting at 15 to 20 miles an hour, and you're trying to get a clean shot off. He does seem like maybe he is getting a little slower when he turns around, but he's still very agitated. It's nice when they go into a tree and just sit in a tree because it's a stationary target. But obviously we don't have that here. But yeah, he seems like maybe it's beginning to take effect if they were able to get a shot off and actually make contact with him.
Well, we are showing you live. I'm not live. We are showing you taped video here. And it looks like great. Did you see that? It looks like that's the shot that they took.
I missed it.
Can we rewind that? It's okay. I mean, I know that we're live on the air, but everybody knows it's taped. I don't know if we're able just to rewind it as it goes. Okay, so we are unable to rewind it.
Oh, yeah, I see him.
Did you see that? You're on a little bit of a delay, I think, Gray, compared to what we're seeing here in the studio. So that happened about 10, maybe 8 minutes ago or so.
Yeah.
Since then, we have seen the bear run, stop, try to catch a breath or two, walk a little bit, run, and this has continued now through this open field. There's sort of what appears to be kind of a brush-like area not far from where he's been wandering around, and I would imagine that the first responders out there are hoping that he doesn't wander too far into that area, because the aerial shot's certainly going to make it a little more difficult to find him once the tranquilizer sets in.
You raised some excellent points, and this is one of the things that I think it's good for the public to learn, that, there's nothing magical about a tranquilizer, especially in a wide open field like this. You can lose your prey. I mean, any hunter out there knows that very often it's not just, knock an animal down, but then you have to find the animal because they often can run like this. So this is a great experience for all of us to witness firsthand, managing wildlife in an urban area.
As we sit here and we watch the bear, and this is that wooded area that we were talking about, and it doesn't look like there are any neighborhoods that should be concerned at this moment, but it is, again, we're talking a little bit about the black bear species, this one being brown, as we go back to some of these live pictures now. And it sounds like, Gray, we're just being told, my producer Lindsay King is telling me that the bear is up in the trees. Well,
that's actually a good thing, because now, if they didn't get that full tranquilizer dose on board with him, now he's a stationary target. He's gone to what he knows, which is to hide up in a tree. And a good reminder, too, that black bear know how to climb trees very, very well, better than we do. So, also a reminder that when you do encounter a bear like this, if you're out in a hiking situation, you want to make your presence known, but you don't want to crowd that bear. You certainly don't want to chase after it. You want to give your distance, get back in your vehicle, and back away the way you came, because they are far faster. Even tranquilized like this, they are far faster than we can ever be.
Yeah, talk about the speeds, because that bear was moving there. When you look at it and you go, okay, why can't they corner this bear? But bears are pretty fast out there.
They're incredibly fast. They're four-legged animals, and that's why you really want to keep your wits about you and be alert when you're out in the wilderness, so that you don't startle them and they startle you, of course, because they are so incredibly fast that you won't outrun a bear. You will not outrun a bear. And notice now, it looks like they are trying to find where the bear may be. The one officer looked like he was looking around those trees there. So hopefully they got the tranquilizer on board. Hopefully the animal's beginning to slow down a little bit and allowing that medicine to take effect, at which point they can safely approach him.
And when you talk about the safety, because, we're watching this from a perspective like we don't very often see this, and so it's kind of cool to see. But these officers have to be very careful, because if the bear feels that it's cornered or in danger, that's when it might retaliate.
You're absolutely right. That's the most dangerous time for any animal encounter is when an animal is confused, it's injured, it's ill, and it may be in a quasi-alert state because it's partially tranquilized. So I'm sure that they not only have additional tranquilizers ready to go if needed, but they also probably have regular firearms because you can't put people at risk. And this is a very dangerous point in the operation. Finding the animal, for one thing. You know, I'll bet they wish he was back in that field right now going to sleep rather than in this thick brush and these trees.
Well, we're by the way, we want to welcome our viewers just now tuning in as we move into our 8:30 half hour of Good Morning Arizona. Dr. Gray Stafford with us from the Wildlife World Zoo sharing more about black bear. In this case, this is a brown species of black bear, but it was spotted about 45 minutes ago near Ellsworth and Queen Creek. That's when first responders were called. We've seen MCSO deputies out there, Mesa Police also out there, and folks from Fish and Game. We also saw one of those folks take a shot with a tranquilizer gun. And then this is the video that you're seeing. We've taken you back in time where the bear would stop, take a few moments to breathe, and then move on. And he has moved now into a wooded area. You got to hand it, both Gray and Javier, to these first responders who are out there in that wooded area, considering they don't know whether or not that bear is down.
Yeah, it's a scary situation for them all, as Gray was just talking about. That's the dangerous part of this, I guess, rescue mission. I don't know what they call it, and trying to capture this bear and get him off the streets before anyone is harmed, including the animal there. I don't know if you know this, Gray. Of course, you know, this is an ongoing situation. But what happens to the bear after they're able to capture it?
Well, that's a great question. I think that obviously Game and Fish will assess the bear's health condition, make sure he doesn't have any injuries. They'll probably measure his body fat and maybe take some blood just to see that he's healthy and that there's not some underlying health issue that caused him to be confused to come closer to urban areas. Once that's done, if this bear has not had a known history with Game and Fish, you know, they monitor all sorts of wildlife. If they know this bear because he's been tagged before and so forth, and if he has a history of coming too close to human civilization, then their options are kind of limited. They may be able to relocate him to an even more remote area, or in some cases, if a bear is problematic, they may have to actually put the bear down. And I don't want to, you know, make anyone sad this morning, but one of the reasons why it's so important for us, especially people who live in outlying areas, not to feed wildlife is because you don't want them to become accustomed to humans and get comfortable living around or foraging around human beings, because those animals, as they say, a fed bear is a dead bear. And so we don't know if that's the situation here, and hopefully it's not. Hopefully he is just a young, confused animal that needs to be relocated back into the wild.
I'm sorry, but I'm so nervous for these folks who are wandering through this brush and wooded area. And we're all watching this together. I believe that we are on a delay here. But yes, we are on a delay here. But again, a bear seen running through the fields into this area of now Queen Creek, not Mesa. First spotted, just getting some new information into our newsroom, at right around 7 o'clock, 6:55. It was a good-sized brown bear, and that was when the call came in. A perimeter was set up. Game and Fish is on the scene as well, and it was someone who called in to say they had, in fact, spotted a bear. Can you imagine their very eyes thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to stop and take a look at this to make sure it is, in fact, a bear wandering around?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just a point of clarification, this is actually a black bear. Arizona only has black bears, but he happens to be brown colored. And that's a confusing thing because a lot of bears aren't necessarily black, even though they're a black bear species, subspecies.
Yeah, these live and delayed, we're switching back and forth. These pictures being provided courtesy of the Penguin Air News Chopper, Bruce High Above, showing us these pictures that everybody seems to be fascinated with here. Of course, the ultimate goal to be able to round up that bear, make sure that everyone is safe, including the first responders who are out there. And as we've been telling you for just a short while, Game and Fish are out there, and they're hoping to tranquilize that bear, and it looks like the bear somehow went into a wooded area, and they believe he might have climbed a tree, he or she. We don't know the gender of species here, but we're just watching this closely to see how this whole thing plays out. Of course, kind of being a slow news day, we can kind of hang out here and watch this bear. Gray, usually, I mean, do bears travel in packs? I mean, is this odd to see one out and about just running wild?
Actually, not at all. The only time you see groups of bears is when you have a mother and her cubs, and they'll stay with her for a season or two until they're able to defend themselves and take care of themselves. So usually a male would be by himself, or a non-breeding female or a young female, they would be on their own, and it would be rare to see more than one bear in a group setting.
It's just been fascinating to watch. And this is video that we shared with you about 15 minutes ago or so. I'm not sure if we can move over to the live pictures to show exactly what's going on. You've got members of the U.S. Game and Fish. They are out there searching now a wooded area, and we were able to see what appeared to be the bear taking a shot from a tranquilizer gun. And so, again, we're not sure if that in fact did happen, but if it did, and if that animal did wander into that now wooded area, it certainly would be difficult to find him, much more difficult than finding him in an open field, as we now have moved into these live pictures on about a 6-second delay. And we're showing you now these officers taking a closer look. There was a wave of some sort that just happened.
They're saying, hey, you spread out that way, I'm going to go this way, and everybody has everyone's six. Gray, do you know how long a tranquilizer would take effect? It would take to take effect for a large bear that size?
I don't know exactly. A lot of it will depend upon how much was actually injected, and that's why earlier we saw the gentleman who fired the dart go and pick it up, because you can look at it to see if it's been discharged properly and if all the fluid has been expelled. That doesn't mean it all made it on board, but it at least gives you some idea of the amount of anesthetic that was injected. It also depends on what they use, and I have no way of knowing at this point in time. Some of those medications need to be reversed with other medication. Some just wear off naturally, and it just kind of depends on what they use, and I don't know at this time.
Well, it has been interesting to get your insight, that's for sure. Someone who knows a lot about bears, more so than most of us. And so we've definitely appreciated that. And we know that you're watching right along with us. And gosh, I think at one point, well, in this image alone, this live picture, compliments of the Penguin Air News Chopper, we've seen about 5 people, and they're spreading out now in this part of Queen Creek, trying to find that bear who might be up in a tree. Or I should say that might be up in a tree. There's no telling where it is exactly, but we can give you a better idea from this vantage point. We know that it was out wandering a field near Signal Butte and Pecos in the Queen Creek area, and take a look at the number of first responders out there. And at one point, it was seen just before that 7 o'clock mark, basically running along what appears to be a drainage ditch. And you're looking what I am, Dr. Gray.
Yeah, and it's nice, too, because they've got people spread out so that if the animal does emerge somewhere, hopefully they'll be able to spot him. But you can see, I would suspect that they feel pretty confident that they were able to get some of the anesthetic on board, given the number of people milling about trying to find him in that area. But, yeah, it's obviously a very fluid situation, and we got to take our hats off to the folks at Game and Fish for what they do.
Now, for the bear to climb up a tree, if that tranquilizer does take effect, will they be able to stay up in the tree? Or, I mean, we've seen video in the past where bears have fallen out of trees after being tranquilized.
Well, Javier, I have seen animals under anesthetic in more controlled conditions for 25 years. And what I will tell you is the moment that you are done with the procedure and the animal's back on exhibit or in its home and waking up is the moment when you can let your guard down and say that everything is back to normal. Anesthetic is not a foolproof method of restraining the animal until you know for sure and can get there and monitor its vitals and so forth. So, yeah, you have to be very cautious, because in that aroused state, especially with all that running that he's been doing, you don't know how effective the tranquilizer is going to be, and you don't know how scared that animal is and how they'll react, even under the influence of that medication. I've seen animals lash out, even when they appear to be fully under anesthetic.
Well, we're showing you now these live pictures to give you a better idea of what is happening in this effort to find this bear. Pretty massive animal. And it was, again, first spotted right around 7 o'clock out there near Signal Butte and Pecos. There are several now helicopters over this effort to get this animal in its rightful spot. It's likely, and Dr. Grace Epper, we've been talking about this, it came down from the superstitions, maybe to find food, maybe to find water at some point this morning.
That would be my guess. And just for people who might have tuned in late, you know, this is a black bear. Arizona is home to many, many black bear. Even though he looks brown, he is a black bear, which is a species that can get to be about 400 to 600 pounds in the case of a male. So a very large animal, and not one that we want to approach on any hike, that sort of thing. The other species of bear we have in North America, of course, is the brown bear, and that is a 1,000-pound, 1,200-pound, 1,500-pound animal, much bigger animal than the species that we have here in Arizona. So that is the good news, but it also means, too, that black bear are every bit as dangerous as any other type of wild animal like this.
Well, we know yesterday was the start of the winter season. When do they typically hibernate, or are they well past that date?
Well, they begin to slow down. You know, they spend the fall foraging and really fattening up. They gorge themselves on berries and, excuse me, seasonally whatever is available throughout the spring, summer, and fall to increase their layer of fat to help them sustain them through the winter. But they can, from time to time, emerge from their dens to just startle, to arouse, maybe to eat a little bit. And given our warm fall, I'm not surprised that perhaps maybe their bodies are a little confused because we haven't had the really cold weather yet. If he was a little bit underweight, he may be out trying to kind of get a last hurrah and really fatten up a little bit. So it kind of varies. It'll be interesting to see what health assessment results they come up with once they do get this guy under control and contained.
Well, to give folks a better idea of exactly where this is, it's fairly close to the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport. That's where the animal was first spotted. We have seen, since we've been on the air with this, nearly a dozen law enforcement vehicles from Mesa Police Department, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and in fact, there was a tweet that went out from a Sheriff's Office spokesperson sending this, saying Maricopa County Sheriff's deputies are trying to contain a good-sized brown bear in Queen Creek. At that point, they were saying that they were waiting for Game and Fish to respond. We watched them respond right here on our airwaves on Good Morning Arizona, and it did appear as though the officer involved there was able to get a shot with a tranquilizer gun. You're watching video from the Penguin Air News chopper of that animal roaming around in a field way out in the East Valley. And basically it was stopping, going, breathing very heavily. Obviously, oh, there it went up on its hind legs. Anyway, we're just continuing to watch this unfold as you are and trying to gain more information, again, as authorities are trying to wrangle this bear out in the East Valley.
How big would you estimate that thing? I mean, it's hard to tell, but just watching Dr. Stafford, from watching the TV and seeing this thing run, how big would you think this one was?
I would guess he's probably at least 300 pounds, but again, there's no real frame of reference for me when he's running out in that field like that to get a sense. You know, I don't think he's a full-size adult, but we'll just have to see. But yeah, it's still a very large animal and nothing that anyone wants to approach. But just a beautiful specimen, and great video from Bruce Hafner, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this video and the live pictures being provided courtesy of the Penguin Air News chopper, and he jumped all over it. You know, Bruce is always finding stuff out and about, and when he heard there was a bear chase going on, he said, I got to get back out there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, and it just is the difficulty that they're having right now locating the animal, I think is also illustrative of why, for example, let's say, for example, heaven forbid you have an escape in a zoo situation. It's a very difficult situation, and obviously we all practice those kind of scenarios. But at some point, you know, you may have to go from tranquilizer to more lethal means because public safety is at issue and because there is this great unknown of the tranquilizer itself. As we saw, this animal ran for many, many minutes at full speed, even though he had been darted. So it's it's a reminder to us all that tranquilizers don't work like they do in Hollywood movies, where as soon as the animal is shot, they go to sleep. That's not how it works at all.
And I would imagine it kind of gives you the idea of the strength of these bears, that even if they did get that tranquilizer dart and that anesthetic started to take effect, that these animals are very strong and can continue.
You're absolutely right, Javier. And the animal is probably its most dangerous in that quasi-awake state, where it's confused. Now it's just had this thing, jabbed in its hindquarters or wherever, and its body is slowly feeling effects. That only heightens its probably arousal until that tranquilizer has taken time to take full effect. So that's why you see teams of people going out in these woods looking for this animal, because now is really one of the most dangerous parts of the whole operation.
Yeah, and just to take you back a little bit, we can see some of these images here. They were shot by Bruce Hafner moments ago up there in the Penguin Air News Chopper, roaming that field out there in the Queen Creek area. And Game and Fish on scene at one point. They were, it looked like, able to administer a shot there with a tranquilizer gun. And, you explained this, Dr. Gray. You said that, and would it be the shell casing of whatever is used to administer the tranquilizer would fall out of the animal? And because it did appear as though he did slow down a touch after it appeared that shot was taken.
You're right, and you're absolutely right. It basically looks like a syringe embedded inside of like a metal canister with a very large needle on it that is propelled, and as it strikes the animal, that plunger is activated and drives the fluid into the animal's flanks, where it then has a chance to take a hold. But any number of things can go wrong. You can miss. The dart can misfire and not eject the fluid. You can have it go all the way in and on board the animal and still it not be enough, especially an animal that's been running for an hour like this. So these are not baseline conditions where an animal's just sitting there in a veterinary office waiting to be examined and calm and relaxed. This is an animal that's highly aroused. Its fight or flight mechanisms are all firing. So it can be a little unpredictable how and when and how long it takes for that anesthetic to take full effect.
Yeah, we're getting tweets coming in by the second. And by the way, we appreciate that. Your handle is what? At Javier Soto TV?
TV, correct.
And mine is at Kaylee O'Kelly. Someone is suggesting this, saying, in fact, it comes from G.E. Finkelstein, and he says, Kaylee, wouldn't it be faster if they had a dog out there to spot the bear? Hashtag good sniffer. It's a great question, but certainly it would be very dangerous for a dog to go out with his, quote, good sniffer and look for an animal, especially of this size. I mean, didn't at one point you say that it could be in that 300-pound plus range?
It certainly could, and obviously there are dogs that are trained for tracking like this. Whether or not those animals are accessible in this short, I mean, this is a real-time event, and just mobilizing, human law enforcement, I think, takes a little bit of time and effort, as you well know. So I think from what I can see, they have a general idea of where the animal is.
You know what, Gray, we're going to interrupt you because we're just getting this from Bruce Hafner saying that the bear is now contained in a fenced-in area. Game and Fish officers are attempting now to tranquilize it.
Okay.
This is just now coming into our newsroom. We're not showing you live pictures. We're showing you some video that came into our newsroom. We all watched this video unfold about a half an hour ago. Are we able to get to the live pictures of the wooded area with about a 6 to 8 second delay? We're going to get to that. Okay, now you can see Bruce is up over this part of the scene as we continue with this breaking news story of a bear that was spotted out in an open field around 7 o'clock this morning near Signal Butte and Pecos in the Queen Creek area.
Yeah, and the official statement from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office is that Mesa PD, MCSO, as well as Arizona Game and Fish are all working to try to track down this bear after a sighting near the old GM Proving Grounds. That's about Pecos and Ellsworth Road. The bear is now contained in a fenced area, and Game and Fish officers are attempting to tranquilize it. Of course, talking to Dr. Gray Stafford with the Wildlife World Zoo, explaining that even if and when that bear is tranquilized, there's no telling how long it will take that anesthetic to take effect, correct?
That's absolutely right. Every animal has, there's so much individuality, variability, if you will, between humans to humans and animals to animals. Even within a species, we all react slightly differently to chemical immobilization like this. And if they were able to get some of the chemicals on board in that initial shot we saw several minutes ago, then that may have helped contribute to him slowing down and moving into this more wooded area and allowing himself to be contained. If they didn't get any on at all, now we're talking about a situation where now at least he's contained and he's a more stationary target, and they have a better chance of getting the shot where they want to.
Well, it's been great to have Bruce up there giving us this bird's eye view. Unfortunately, we're not able to hear him report this morning, but he is helping to get the information into our newsroom so that we can share it with you. Again, sounds like that bear is contained in that fenced-in area. Game and Fish, as we're showing you, along with some officers with Mesa PD, as well as Maricopa County Sheriff's deputies, they're out there on the scene working to make sure that everybody remains safe.
And if you're wondering why they're trying to contain this bear, well, it could be a dangerous situation if this bear were to make it into a neighboring neighborhood somewhere close by or encounter a human being. And you can imagine how freaked out the person might be. That's about how freaked out the bear might be as well. So they want to err on the side of caution, and they want to make sure that it's all safe out there and get that bear contained and tranquilized, and then they can figure out what to do with it next.
All right, so we're going to continue to watch these pictures come your way live. And now these are some shots that Bruce Hafner grabbed for us out there in that open field. And again, it was around 7 o'clock this morning, and this is out near Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport. Just to give you a general perspective, if you don't know the East Valley that well, and there really is a lot of agricultural land in that part of the East Valley, which would give that bear plenty of room to roam out there in the wide open space.
Yeah, it was running. It was off and running, that's for sure. And how fast did you say bears can go, Greg?
Oh, easily 15 to 20 miles an hour, probably more at a full sprint, but certainly faster than you and I, Javier, could ever muster. So the other thing that they present is a road hazard. I mean, he was running down some major streets, and so just even as a potential road hazard, if someone were to strike him by his vehicle, it could cause serious damage to any vehicle.
Wow.
So it's good to get him out in a contained area away from people.
All right. Well, we are continuing to kind of work in circles here because we're waiting for more information to come in into our newsroom. Dr. Grace Stafford, thank you for your time with the Wildlife World Zoo. Please kind of hang tight because I would imagine we'll go back to this once we get additional information. So thank you for your time. And yeah, we'll wait. We know that bear has been contained in a fenced-in area. And as soon as we have more information on this breaking news story, we will certainly make it available to you. In the meantime, I would imagine a lot of people are wondering, what's going on with the weather?
Of course, going into a holiday week, we're hoping that more people are off and they're out and about just enjoying this beautiful weather.
Away from the bear.
A little chilly out there, a little chilly as we saw in the bear's breath as he was running. But if you're out and about, that calls for what? A sweatshirt, nice little small
A nice fur
sweater.
jacket, I believe.
Sure.
No.
Oh, Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, no, a little fur jacket like the bear had on out there, Everyone's out doing a little exercise for themselves, you fattened up a little bit. It's a holiday time. Maybe I'm just saying for myself, right? I'm not saying you, I'm not saying anybody else.
That would make 3 of us.
Yeah, all the hands are up. All of us. You know what? It is nice out there. So the sun is up. Beautiful morning temperatures, right around 43 in Surprise, 43 over in Anthem, 41 in Mesa, and 42 over at Phoenix. This afternoon, it's going to be nice. One of the warmest days of the week. 58 by 11, 67 by 3 p.m. We'll top off right at 69. Winds will be light out of the west today, just to 7 miles per hour, and 62 by 7 p.m. It's a 30-day forecast. So the warmest day of the week is today, 69. After that, a gradual cooling trend. Also, tracking some snow flurries in the high country. I'll tell you when it's going to be here in your full forecast in just a few minutes.
A white Christmas. That would be nice.
Not bad, huh?
Yeah, in Arizona, looking good.
All right, we'll be right back with more Good Morning Arizona. Of course, we'll continue to monitor that situation with the bear where it has been contained. and they have them surrounded.
Please keep the tweets coming at Javier Soto TV, at Kaylee O'Kelly. We want to hear from you. Good morning, Arizona. We're moving into that 9 o'clock hour. We'll be right back.
Trying to get an insurance company to send you money when you're hurt? That'll turn a car wreck into a nightmare. Who knew? I know, and I know how to get the insurance company to pay you all the money you deserve. I'm Attorney Lloyd Baker. I'll work to get you paid without making you go to court. What I know can get you more money than what they're telling you about. Injured in a car wreck? Call 800-LAW-1114 and let the heavy hitter end the nightmare.
Call Attorney Lloyd Baker. We'll work to get you more. 1-800-LAW-1114.
Nourished. Rescued. Protected. Given new hope. During the Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru owners feel it too. Because when you take home a new Subaru, we donate $250 to helping those in need. We'll have given $50 million over 7 years. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Subaru offers 2 years of complimentary maintenance on every new vehicle. Right now, get 0.9% APR financing on the 2015 Subaru Forester.
George's truck is here, it's full of gear. He's the guy who can get your drains all clear. Call George, call George. He's never far away, he comes out night or day. He'll get the job done right, and then you'll say, call George.
Call George Brazil today for $35 off any electrical repair.
Thanks for watching 3TV.
Big Willie style's all in it, getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it.
Well, good morning, Arizona. Monday morning during a holiday week, and we're getting jiggy with it.
Yeah, we are. What year was this song, like, #1 on the chart?
90. It had to be maybe 2000, 2001, yeah. 90, late
When you were
90s.
working at Bobby McGee's and I was working at the Black Angus, right
Across
next
the
door to
street.
one another.
We didn't even know each other.
I know, it's very weird.
Ah, small world indeed.
Yes. Good morning, Arizona. Speaking of small world, we so appreciate you waking up with us on this shortened work week for many of you. It's hard to believe Christmas is Thursday.
Yeah, the kids are home this week from school already, probably just waking up, and they're thinking, do I go outside and play, or do I hang out inside and start the Xbox?
Uh-oh, parents saying get outside and get moving. We want to bring in Rich Dahlquist.